Hey guys, so Rambling Man here. I did not do a Sunday conversation this past Sunday. I was wrapped up with family and things we were doing. Shame on me. But it's right after it, so why don't we think about this now? Well, one of the things on my mind is the Bible verse, as a man thinketh, so is he. And that can be to your good or your bad. The power of the mind is immense. And, whether it's for the good or for the bad. And we'd be lying if we ever said that we're not on the bad side. I know I struggle with this a lot. The actor that played Dwight Schrute on The Office was said recently that, his name, I usually have his name on the tip of my tongue. But he said that he was kind of miserable for much of the taping on that show because while he was having incredible success, all he could think about was why wasn't he in movies? He was jealous of the guys that were in movies, and his mind had him convinced he was missing out. And I've gone through this sort of thinking and could totally relate when I saw his comments. Totally get it. And the rich young ruler that approached Jesus in the Bible, it's the only person in the Bible, I think I'm right about this, the only person in the Bible, the rich young ruler is the only person I believe in the Bible who left and was not saved. Jesus told him, I don't have it open in front of me, so I'm paraphrasing, but the guy was asking how to get to heaven, and he said, sell all your possessions and follow me. And this really, the guy struggled with that and left, and you never see him saved. And, the old saying that people say incorrectly, that money is the root of all evil, it's the love of money that's the problem. And for the rich young ruler, that was important. And so much so that stood in the way of his faith. Now, certainly, Jesus does not have a problem with wealth. He took from the poor person with one talent and gave it to the person that had more wisely invested their talents. Talents being a denomination of currency back then is what we're talking about. Not talents with what you're able to do, but money. One guy just buried it in the ground, and he was called wicked and lazy. He buried it in the ground because he knew that his master could be an angry man or whatever it was. So he just wanted to give him what he gave him back. So he buried it in the ground, didn't do anything with it, whereas the others invested and worked. And they were called wicked and lazy, and said, take it from the man who has one and give it to the guy that did 10. He can do more with it. So that would kind of argue against our redistribution policies that we do in this country. That now the government officials will bring up, Jesus, and it's like being charitable with other people's money is not what the Bible was about. If you want to help somebody, you should. You can and you should. Not say you're charitable because you'll vote to spend other people's money the way you think it should be spent. But in terms of the way a man thinketh, so is he. It's like, are you so focused on yourself and that you're thinking more about material goods than something bigger? And I'm not going to try to argue and debate faith with people, because it's like even those who believe go through periods where, there's doubt, there's anger, there's frustration. And another thing is that, you get into your mind that because you're imperfect, you can't be used. But no, the Bible and church is for perfect people. And I'll be the first to say the people in the church can be a real turnoff. maybe at a later time I'll speak to more about that. But in terms of being imperfect, true Christians know the Bible is full of stories of imperfection. Moses killed someone. David slept with, was it Bathsheba? I'm running off memory on these things, guys. But David slept with another man's wife, then ordered the military to put that guy to the front of the fight so he'd get murdered. And this was a guy, David, who is called a man after God's own heart. This was a guy who was imperfect. So he could use you and me. And that's something I'm working myself through right now and thinking a lot about. So when you go back to the verse, as a man thinketh, so is he. Man, if you've been gnawing and chewing on something in a negative way about what could have been, what should have been, and every day, man, you got to let go of that. Because the more you think about that stuff, believe me, it ain't doing any good. You got to think bold about the future. And if something didn't work out, 10 years from now, you're going to look back and go, man, it was all part of a plan, but it sure don't feel like it now. And if you don't believe, I'm not going to shove this stuff down your throat. I can tell you that I became a believer. I might actually show this. You know, so many people read their Bibles now on their iPhones and stuff, and I do too. Love technology, man. But there's no substitute for pulling out your old paper printed Bible and reading it, right? And making notes. And I pulled mine out the other day, and I knew I had some documents and stuff in there, but one of the things in there was a photograph somebody took of me. I bet it was my dad. That might have been, well, it was in a card from my grandmother that I had, and but that doesn't mean she took it. Might have just been in there, my guy memory of things. But I think I was probably 8 or 9 years old. I'll have to see if the date's on the back. And it was a picture of me getting baptized. And in the Christian faith, God doesn't have grandchildren. Like, if you're a follower, you have to believe. You make the decision to get baptized as a testament of that faith. Somebody can't do it for you. You'll not find infant baptisms in the Bible, okay? So, you know, that speaks to me that I'm opening this Bible, and there's a photograph reminding me of the past, right? And, but people drift. I have. I sure have. And, you know, if you don't believe, you got to decide for yourself. And sometimes you're going to get to a point where God puts you in a position to consider. If you guys watched Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, I can't remember. I guess it's been Better Call Saul. When Salamanca says to, what's the guy's name, Walter? Consider your options carefully.
Consider your position carefully.
God might put you in a position to consider your options carefully about what you're going to do in the future and about why you're in a spot you're in. And as your mind goes through all that stuff, you've got the power to think boldly and positively, or similarly, you got the power to think negatively. And you might get to a spot in your life where you're like, you know, somebody, maybe it's this message. Maybe this is hitting you at a time when you needed to hear something. But just remember that, as a man thinketh, so is he. So you gotta take control and quit blaming other people. You gotta take control and quit blaming other people. So thus ends today's lesson. As a man thinketh, so is he. Love seeing trains. Guess we're on the tail end of that train. I'll see you on the road.